How does it feel, Wayne, to stand on the very stones that ran with your parents' blood? Do you feel sad, full of rage? Or does that outfit help bury your feelings, hiding your true self? Oh, you are a truly extraordinary specimen. I look forward to breaking you.
So, Batman Strange Apparitions is a Bronze Age tale before the Crisis event happened. You know, back when Dick Grayson was still Robin. But it really fits Arkham City because it has a bunch of villains and also has Hugo Strange in it. So, that's why I'm covering it. But the only villain that doesn't really fit anywhere in this would be the first one, which has the first 3 issues of this collection. The main writers for this are Steve Englehart and Len Weed did the final one. So let's talk. So if you watch Creature Commandos, you probably have discovered Dr. Phosphorus. And if you're a Batman Beyond fan, you would assume that he's actually Blight, but he's not. Blight was most likely inspired by him for design purposes, not really character. But the story isn't really about him yet, and we're not going to learn about his backstory. But I'll just let you know, because I've read this collection before, it's not as tragic as the Creature Commandos one. It's not as tragic. It's more understandable why he's doing what he's doing. But anyway, it opens up with Alfred being, let's just say, collapsing to the ground because he didn't drink the right amount of the clean water. He didn't drink clean water. Batman is, of course, mortified and wondering what the hell's going on, but he decides to call an ambulance to help Alfred out. But unfortunately, before Alfred collapsed, Alfred noted that the sirens were all over town. Because at this time, they aren't at Wayne Manor. They're at pretty much the place that Bruce was in The Dark Knight. You know, the apartment thing. Because at the time, Brett Batman thought, we're living too far out from Gotham. We need to live closer in it. And not because Wayne Manor burned down. Not because of that. But anyway, since all the ambulances are busy with other sick people, Bruce decides to drive Alfred to the hospital and give him the best care he can. But then he arrives to talk to the doctors as Batman, and they pretty much say, yeah, we have no idea what this is. We're trying to figure it out. But then Commissioner Gordon walks in and he's talking to a City Hall official. He's corrupt, by the way. The City Hall official, he's corrupt. And then he goes to talk to Batman and reveals a note by a guy called Dr. Phosphorus saying, hey, pretty much saying, hey, I poisoned the water and you all shall fall with me. So Batman returns home after hearing that and tries to think of and more or less just reflects on the fact that he no longer lives in Wayne Manor, and then decides to go get a drink of water. But then he's like, well, at first he looks around to see what could have poisoned Alfred, but then he goes to the drink of water to get a drink of water to clear his head because, well, he's tired, I guess. And then he thinks, wait a minute, many people drink water, especially night workers. So he goes to call Commissioner Gordon, who reveals that the water is the source of the problem. And then Commissioner Gordon on the other side is like, oh, no wonder I'm feeling woozy, and falls over. So Batman goes to the water supply, the river, I guess, and meets Dr. Phosphorus, a guy who pretty much made out of phosphorus, I guess. Whatever that is. But whatever it is, Batman can't really fight against that with his bare clothed claw hands. But he decides to wrap his cape around his fist to try and do some damage. And Dr. Phosphorus is like, ah, yes. You are very clever. So Dr. Phosphorus just like leaps at him to like drown him in the water, I guess, but it makes his body actually cooler. So Bruce decides to just continue kicking his ass. Then Dr. Phosphorus decides, you know what, screw this. I have bigger fish to fry. Bye, Batman. And Batman is weakened by this. And by the way, this is in Tom King's Batman vs. Catwoman or Batman slash Catwoman series. Apparently it's revealed that Bruce got cancer from this event or any other battle with Dr. Phosphorus. So, yeah, that's a note. Okay, that's the first issue. Bye. So, the origin of Dr. Phosphorus. So, pretty much, if you've watched Creature Commandos, you might think you know the story, but no, it's actually not it. It's kind of more like how... So, pretty much, this guy named Dr. Sartorius, pretty much, you know, had... like everything going for him. He had everything worked out. He had a bunch of money because he did like a Gotham Central Park thing in savings, and so he joined the Tobacconist Club, which is like a bunch of people in Gotham, like rich people, but not just any rich people, corrupt rich people own that, and you can know that by the fact that Rupert Thorne is there. Now, if you don't know who Rupert Thorne is, he's pretty much the main mob guy in Batman the Animated Series, and that's kind of the reason why that show never really had Carmine the Roman Falcone, because the people that made that show grew up with this era of Batman comics, and that was like the main corrupting force in Gotham. That was the mob. Ignore that. So anyway, Dr. Sartorius was, I don't know, a good person beforehand. Like what happened to him was shitty, but still. He wasn't trying to cure cancer or anything. He wasn't a scientist. In fact, he wasn't even a doctor. He was just more of a rich guy who was kind of smart, I guess. I don't know if he's really that smart. But anyway, he's pretty much like this rich guy who joined this club, and the club's like, hey, buddy, put all your savings into this one plant. So this plant will totally be a benefit to you. And this guy was like, oh, cool, because he wanted to, join the cool kids. But then, the city kind of didn't approve because they didn't want the plant or something. I don't know. Politics aren't really my thing. And so they had to move. So, and eventually the rich people lost because, safety and whatnot. Because I guess people don't like the fact that there's a reactor, a like a radioactive factory just in the city. So they had to move it out like 4 miles away from the city in sea level, and like the plant need like serious repairs that this guy didn't have the money for anymore. And so this guy was just walking around it, just trying to make sure that the plant was like actually like good enough to make money, and that he didn't waste his entire money, all of his money, on this one plant. And then the reactor core blew up, and he tried to like save himself by going into like behind some radioactive sand. Yes, radioactive sand. And it pretty much like shot through him, and that's what turned him into, spooky, scary, burning radioactive skeleton man. And let's just say he's a wee bit pissed at Thorne and all the city councilmen, but like right now he's telling the story to one of the city councilmen who is, shitting his pants, but he's like, dude, I'll let you live if you just do one little thing for me. Keep Batman out of my way. I just don't really feel like dealing with him. He's kind of weird. Just keep him out of my way. And so that's what's going to happen in the next issue. He's going to, I think, get Gordon fired from the job as commissioner. I don't really remember. But still, that's what's going to happen. Bye. Okay, so in this issue, it starts off with Batman, making the rounds of Gotham, stopping a thief, and then he gets interrupted by like this, I guess, city official who's like, "Hey, Batman, we got a subpoena for you." So I guess this runs on the '60s Batman logic, except more serious. And Batman is like shocked, and for like the next couple minutes, while the thief's just sitting there afraid, he's just standing still, like, was I seriously just subpoenaed? Then the cops show up and like, hey, Batman, we'll take it from here. And then he leaves to go talk to Gordon, and Gordon's like, I don't know, I've been in here all day. Must have been like Boss Rupert Thorne, aka the animated series mobster guy, but in the comics he was more of a corrupt city official. Out for money. And Alfred is just in the same room as Commissioner Gordon, who just decided to ask to serve Commissioner Gordon because he's a manservant, so he's gonna he's gonna manserve. Then Dr. Bell walks in, the guy that Dr. Phosphorus, I forgot to mention his name, threatened in the last issue, Dr. Bell, and pretty much he's like. And he's actually the one that asked for a subpoena, and the city council agreed to it because they've been kind of scared of Batman since, they can't control him. So, yeah. And more or less, he just thought says, Batman, like, we will no longer allow you. You have to be reined in because you're clearly not good for the job. You're out of line. You're a vigilante. You're gonna get away with our crimes. At the police's job, you're gonna get in the way of that, man. We're gonna send Gordon's boys after you. And Batman just leaves. So pretty much Batman returns home to his subway Batcave. Not as classy as what the Dark Knight did, but still classy. So, like, apparently they moved, like, Robin, Alfred, and him, like, moved all the trophies to this area, which is kind of funny. Because currently, at the moment, they're not at Wayne Manor. Because Batman really wanted to be close to, crime itself. And living out away from Gotham doesn't really help with that. So anyway, Batman then notices one of his devices that scans radiation, like, over his wounds. He's realized, oh, Dr. Phosphorus is radioactive. Well, this makes my job way easier. But then he gets a call from Chief O'Hara, apparently someone that works for Gordon, who's also an old friend of Batman. Who's like, listen, man, Dr. Phosphorus Dr. Phosphorus attacked like a rock concert and pretty much poisoned everyone in there. It's not really important, but Chief O'Hara's like, oh yeah, like Dr. Phosphorus attacked, but I wasn't really supposed to tell you this, but because we're kind of being told to come arrest you and not help you anymore. So just don't let anyone tell you I told you this. And Batman's like, okay, do me one last favor. Where's the highest point of radiation in Gotham? Which is the power plant that Dr. Phosphorus owned. But since the city has pretty much turned against Batman, no one is letting him on board the plant, and so he's like, okay, fine, I'll come back later. Then a week passes, and Bruce Wayne sets up a party where all the big wigs of Gotham can show up. Like, Rupert Thorne, Dr. Bell, and the lovely Silver St. Cloud. Better get used to her because she's going to be around for most of this story. But this is kind of her introduction. It's not really much of an introduction. I mean, you don't really even see her eyes. But anyway. So Bruce, starts to hit up with Silver. They start to have a connection. Like, Bruce is actually, like the sky is blue, actually really interested in her. And then he decides, but since he already planned out the evening, he quickly leaves her be to, make the rounds, aka go to the power plant to go kick Dr. Phosphorus' ass. Or, no, I'm just going to call him Mr. Phosphorus, because since this guy is not a real doctor, he doesn't have any credentials at all to be classified as a doctor, and is kind of, as we're about to see, ineffective without his burning touch. So anyway, Batman shows up, and this time, instead of his normal costume, he has a radioactive resistant suit. Again, 60s TV show logic. And let's just say Dr. Phosphorus can't exactly do anything else. He kind of was banking on his whole radioactive touch thing. But he's like, okay, I got it. I need more radiation. But then Batman stops him, and they're both hanging on to a bar, and Dr. Phosphorus kicks him off. And then the beam melts, and he falls to his death. Well, that's death in Batman terms, so he's not really dead. He's just kind of out of the story. But Batman just sure seems to not really care that he died. And so he returns to the party, and Silver thinks to herself, is thankful, and he's like, hey, let's go talk at the dinner. And Bruce is like, will do. But then Silver notices, his hair is awfully damp. I wonder why that's happening. And that is let me just look at the title again. Master Plan of Dr. Phosphorus. And now the story can actually begin. I mean, it's not really much of a story, but still.
Damn it! Sorry. Dropped it. Jittery hands. I keep thinking someone's gonna barge through the door at any moment. The scotch probably didn't help. Oh, sorry. Forgot to introduce myself, didn't I? My name is Alex Sartorius. Dr. Alex Sartorius. And this? Well, I suppose this is my confession. 20 years ago, I went into business with my friend and business partner, Simon Stagg. Oh, it feels strange talking into this thing. I've never been one for the limelight. Never cared for attention. He was the businessman, I was the scientist. Stagg Enterprises was a fine name by me. And we did fine work, too. I want you to remember that, whatever comes out. The cure for the Tugela virus, that was us. The treatment for Collier syndrome, that was us, too. No, not us. That was me. I never cared about the financials, of course. I never needed to. Don't you worry, Alex, Simon used to say, and I believed him. Believed him right up to the day he told me there was a big, gaping hole where next year's budget was supposed to be. I wonder, now, of course, if he was lying. I mean, can you blame me? If he just come out and asked me, I'd probably have said no. I'm no bleeding heart, but if there'd been no need... Oh, sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself, aren't I? Jeez. Anti-anxiety meds, they rattle your brain. What I'm ethically risky. Well, it's obvious. You do human testing anyway. he never told me where they came from. Just that no one would miss them. You think I want forgiveness? You think this is some desperate mea culpa? I was raised Catholic, but I chose science over faith. This is not about me, this pathetic, drunken confession. I struck my bargain, let him threaten me into silence while I worked on my vaccines, my cures. So don't judge me, whoever you are. Whichever junior reporter at the Gotham Herald was lucky enough to press the play button on this device. No! This isn't about me. This is about him. He's gotten worse. We're a pharmaceutical company in name alone these days. It's all weapons. Some to the army, even more to the people the army's fighting. And now Scarecrow's here? I know what they're doing. They're taking my technology, my mass inoculation device, and they're turning it into something twisted, something wrong. Well, I won't let that happen. I won't turn a blind eye anymore. This confession will be my epitaph. The proof that I was not content to weigh the good I've done against the evil done by him anymore. If you were listening to this...
Dr. Sartorius, Mr. Stagg would like a word.
Okay, so the next issue opens with Rupert Thorne pretty much telling his posse, look, guys, we gotta get rid of Bruce. With Batman, we gotta get rid of him. It's about time we got rid of this man before he gets to us. Everyone's like, dude, boss, like, you realize that people have tried this and they have failed. Everyone's like, you're just cowards. And then they notice some debris falling in the alley. The chimney. And it's Batman trying to spy on them. Before they could check, he escapes. But Batman's like, crap, I am not at 100% efficiency. I need to leave and just, like, actually get medical attention because his fight with Dr. Phosphorus, kind of didn't exactly, how do I put this slightly, leave him in the best of shape. Because one, his skin is burned and he's very injured from that. And two, it's radiation poisoning. It's full of radiation, so, he can't exactly wait around for it to just heal. But luckily, one of his friends recommended a super secret sufficient, like, what is the name? Like, physician who can go ahead and heal him, no questions asked. But before he goes out there and to that shady place that, no questions asked, he first calls up Silver, lets her know that he can't, he's gonna miss their next date. But Silver's like, that's fine with me. I'm very tired from our very, very great night together. Yeah, that's hinted at exactly what you think it did. And Alfred looks upon this and's like, maybe he's actually found the one, because he's not talking like a playboy with this girl. Like, he's talking like he's actually interested in getting down with her. Maybe it's time. But anyway, he goes off to this place called the Grey Towers. It's called the Grey Towers, by the way. And, he's welcomed in. He flirts with the nurse. But then all of a sudden, he gets introduced to the head doctor. His name's, like, Stonewell or something. Like, his name's not really important because of a twist later on. But he, like, flirts with the nurse when he's being taken to his room. He gets taken to his room. But he gets knocked out because the nurse had drugged him through her perfume. And eventually he wakes back up and he's like, what the heck? Like, after like a very trippy page, he wakes back up and he's just kind of like, what the heck? That was a weird nightmare. Wait a minute. I don't have nightmares. What is this BS? Then he notices, wait, no, I was drugged. Crap, hold on. Hello? And then, like, a guard comes to him and says, "Hey, buddy, yeah, this isn't a clinic. You're in an asylum, so, sweet dreams." And Bruce is like, "Oh, crap, we gotta figure a way out of here." Next day, Silver shows up and, trying to see Bruce, because Bruce told her he was just having some tests. He didn't exactly tell her that he had radiation poisoning. Oh, yeah, by the way, that radiation poisoning will eventually evolve into, um, you know, the eventually evolve into like cancer in Tom King's run. Apparently, I haven't read that. But anyway, so Silver's turned away because he has radiation poisoning, and she just can't see him. And Silver's kind of taken aback. Like, he didn't tell me he had radiation poisoning. But then then we next see Bruce. He's refusing to take the drugged medicine, the drugged water that they're trying to give him to make him subservient to them, because that's the scam. They drug out rich people who and then like give money to the hospital, give money to the Dr. Stonewall. And so with that, Bruce suits up as Batman and he escapes through the window and sees just how extensive the scam is. And then he leaves to the roof, but then he comes across Monsterman. And if you know the history of Monsterman and Batman, you know who the heck this guy is. Who the heck Dr. Stonewall actually is. And so Batman beats up the Monsterman and smashes through Dr. Stonewall's office window and is like, "Hey, I've been on your trail for months, buddy. I'm bringing you down." And Dr. Stonewall's like, "Okay, first of all, no, like, I believe that you would have discovered this, like, pretty quickly. What I'm more shocked by is the fact that you haven't discovered who you're dealing with." And he reveals himself to be Professor Hugo Strange. Sorry, Professor. Now, this is before he became a psychiatrist guy, but Dr. Hugo Strange was more of a mad scientist guy. Like back when he was introduced. And this is still in the original continuity. This is before like Dick Grayson became Nightwing. This is before Jason Todd. This is before a lot of things. And so in turn, he's not a psychiatrist yet, but he's still really like a really smart villain. But anyway, Professor Hugo Strange, like, goes off on how Batman and him respect each other wildly, and that no one can face Hugo Strange that isn't Batman. While Batman just kind of sits there, silently, because Hugo Strange is just kind of like bragging to his assistant, the nurse lady from earlier. But then Batman's like, "But listen, buddy, you're done. I'm gonna like get you." But then a snake comes from the ceiling and pretty much knocks Batman out. But Hugo's wanting to give Batman the antidote because he has plans for Batman. When Batman wakes up, it's revealed that Hugo Strange has discovered who Batman is. And that's the end of this part of Strange Apparitions. Alright, so after Hugo learned Bruce's identity, he decided, you know what, I'm going to adjust my scheme from just like blackmailing rich people by turning them into monsters and telling them to do whatever I want to make me a millionaire. Instead, I'm going to take over Bruce's life and pretty much embezzle all of his money, making him totally broke, and then kill him. And that's exactly what he plans to do. And he's apparently gotten super good at impersonating both Batman and Bruce. Such a talented man this man is. And so they've taken over Bruce's apartment, thrown Alfred in with Bruce, the drugged out Bruce, who is very weak and is constantly getting injected with sleepy time drugs, leaving him very weak and pretty much not a non-figure in this issue. And so Strange begins his personal plan of, making Bruce bankrupt by doing all that. But there comes a certain problem that shows up. Silver St. Cloud. She shows up and is like, "Hey, darling, great to see you. You didn't tell me you were out." And he was like, "Shit. Listen, baby, I'm kind of busy right now. Could you maybe leave me alone?" And after having a bit of a conversation where Bruce is, being very distant, not putting her first, she storms out and Strange is like, "Whew, good. The thaw is gone." But then it turns out that Silver left because she noticed that this wasn't exactly how Bruce actually acts. So she goes to the clinic to try and see if something's wrong, but the clinic's like, "Oh, nope, he's gone. He's no longer here." And the nurse lady who's like, "Doctor, she's very suspicious." And he's like, "Okay, deal with her." And so she goes to a phone call and lets Dick Grayson, who is currently at college and still Robin, know, "Hey, Bruce has been acting very weird, and I think something's wrong. Like, he went to this weird clinic, named, like, Gray's Styles or whatever." But Dick acts like, "Hey, look, that's Bruce's problem, not mine. Like, he'll back from it. And he probably didn't mean anything by that harsh comment he gave you about being a woman, stuff like that." That's what Hugo said, I think. And Silver's a bit ticked off that this guy who Bruce has cared for doesn't exactly care about saving him. But then the monster men attack her, and she's no longer seen for the rest of the issue, but I think she ends up in the hospital in the next one. But then Hugo, having made a bunch of money from the recent week he spent as Bruce Wayne, decides to, go on an auction and sell off the secret of Batman. And if you've seen that one episode of Batman the Animated Series, this is entirely what this is based on. So Hugo sets up with 3 people ready to bid for Batman's identity. One being Rupert Thorne, the other 2 being iconic Batman villains Penguin and Joker. They don't really do anything in this issue. They're just cool Easter eggs. You can tell by just how they look in the shadows. But Hugo leaves because he got his money and tells them all to come back later for the next bidding thing. Because, well, he still kind of needs Bruce to still be alive, because he was trying to, hurry up the process because of Silver's suspicions. But then Rupert Thorne pretty much kidnaps him and is like, "Listen, buddy, I want Batman gone now, and you're going to tell me that secret." But Hugo Strange is like, "Nah, dude, no. We made a deal. I get money, you bid for it, and then I tell whoever wins the bet." But Rupert doesn't really like that answer, and so he brings him to, a secure alleyway to beat the crap out of him and get the secret out of him. But back with Robin. Robin has arrived at the facility and is like, "Hey, Alfred, I'm here. How's Bruce?" "Oh, he's currently drugged out and very weak." "Got it. I'll come in and kick everyone's ass." And Robin kicks a bunch of ass. This is clearly the Robin from the Teen Titans cartoon, because this guy is just kicking everyone's ass. I guess it makes sense. He's no longer the boy Wonder or the teen Wonder. He's the young adult Wonder. And the nurse lady's like, "Oh, crap. You dare enter the lair of Hugo Strange?" And Robin's like, "Ah, of course. It had to be Hugo. I recognize these bozos anywhere. The Monster Men." So the nurse is like, "Oh, crap. I guess I have to kill off Batman because he's kicking all the Monster Men's ass. I have to hurry up the plan." But she arrives, but Alfred stops her from injecting, and she accidentally injects herself, and it turns out that thing was to make Bruce into a monster man and, I guess, die. But then Robin shows up, saves Alfred and all of them. But the woman dies, I guess. And he's like, wait until we get our hands on Hugo Strange, because he's going to get the ass whooping of the lifetime. But what Robin doesn't know is that Hugo Strange is already getting the ass whooping of his lifetime, as he's being constantly like getting the crap kicked out of him. Well, and sometimes like Rupert's like, "Okay, dude, you gonna tell me now?" And Strange is like, "Never." And he keeps going until Strange is flat out beaten to death. And the reason why Hugo doesn't exactly just tell them, "Hey, Bruce Wayne is Batman," is because he really respects Batman on a level, and also it's to protect his ego, because he's like, "I actually had to work for this shit, and you're trying to like blackmail it out of me? Nah, you ain't learned shit from me." And then he dies. And, well, Rupert's like, okay, dispose of the body, and that leads into the next issue. Okay, so the next issue, it opens up with Thorne's thugs dropping a barrel, presumably with the body of Hugo Strange, into the river. And Batman and Robin are still on the lookout for Hugo Strange because of what happened and the fact that he knows who Batman is. And I don't think they'll ever figure out what happened to him, so there you go. Actually, yeah, in this entire book, or collection of stories, they never found out what happened to him. So that happened. Anyway, Batman and Robin kick the butts of the thugs, but they're not afraid because they're like, dude, like, you missed the news? The law has passed you as an outlaw. Like, we're going to go scot-free because of who we work for. And Bruce realizes that they have a point, because while he was the prisoner of Hugo Strange, he missed a meeting where Rupert Thorne passed the law to pretty much outlaw Batman. You know his plan. So more or less, like Batman and Robin realize that they're screwed, but Robin's like, listen, Batman, I'm going to stay for a little bit longer because you obviously need help with this catastrophe. I forget what happens afterward. Okay, yeah. So Robin's sticking around for really this one issue, and then he kind of leaves at the beginning of the next one. But anyway, so remember that auction where Hugo Strange was pretty much saying, whoever gets me the most money will know the secret identity of Batman? And there was 3 people who were volunteering Rupert Thorne, and 2 mysterious ones who are pretty obvious if you know who Batman villains are, Joker and Penguin. So Penguin arrived at the meeting spot of the next auction, and it was pretty much like, where the hell is everyone? Not even the other 2 competitors showed up. I've been had. This blows. Anyway, I'm out of here. After like a quick jump scare of the Joker, but he wasn't there, I guess. Or he's just hiding behind the theater thing. And he just decided to scare Penguin just for shits and giggles. And so Penguin just walks out and is like, oh, okay, boys, let's move. Let's get out of here. And then we cut to a newspaper showing off that a rare jeweled bird, Molly's bird or something, is being displayed. And so a little history lesson of the Penguin. Before Penguin was a mobster, he was just like a petty thief. Like, this is during the time of like the 60s TV show, and if you haven't watched the 60s TV show, I haven't either. But apparently back then the Penguin was more of a thief with a gimmick about birds, so pretty much he was the Riddler but with birds instead of riddles. So yeah. And like the main reason why he became a mobster was just because people just didn't know what to do with him for a while, until they just decided to make him a mobster. So yes, before Penguin was a mobster, Batman actually had to fight real mobsters. You know, people that weren't originally supervillains. So Batman shows up to the art collector gallery owner, and he's pretty much like, dude, what the hell? You do realize the Penguin has like escaped, right? Like, what the hell are you doing displaying a bird? And the artist is like, well, here's the thing. Fuck you. None of your business. Not your problem. I have prepared everything. The walls have microphones in them. The floor is is so meticulously placed that it can be triggered. It's protected by glass that's separated by like rope and shit, and it has lasers inside the glass. The Penguin ain't getting in the way, and Batman's just like, yeah, sure. Sure. What about cameras? And he's like, dude, I have a budget to keep. So anyway, Batman and Robin return to the Wayne estate. And pretty much it ties up the loose end of Hugo pretty much bankrupting Bruce with the fact that Hugo left the checks in the apartment. So he more or less is just, he can just nullify all what Hugo bought the checks for. All the dealings, and so everything's good with his business again. And so Bruce decides in the very early hours of the morning to just take a nap and then wake up in the noon. So he immediately goes back to the work, and there's like a meeting in Paris to get to, but he decides to send one of his colleagues. So he gets up and he tells Dick, hey, look, we're going out on patrol, but I need to make a quick stop. He goes to see Silver. You know, they're acting all lovey-dovey. And, you know, all that. Dick and Silver meet. Dick Grayson and Silver St. Cloud meet. For, like, the real first time. And then we cut to the the boys posing on a building. Like, Robin makes sense. What the hell is Batman doing with the covering up the mouth, like, cape thing? But anyway, they spot Penguin outside the museum, and so they decide to go and stop him, but he quickly escapes. And then they decide to talk, and because he said a riddle, like a questionnaire or something, like while he was escaping. And so they're busy trying to figure that out, but then the alarm for the gallery goes off. They rush in because they think the Penguin just broke in and stole it, but then turns out it's just all the loud noise next door of a theater troupe to pretty much make like the loud thing. And so they ask like the theater guy, hey, like, dude, who paid for this? And he's like, oh, some mysterious guy. Obviously, that's the Penguin. And so they then return to the apartment. Like, Bruce, like, on the phone tells the guy he's sending the Paris to have good luck with it. They're gonna have good luck. Then, mysteriously, a bunch of pamphlets start falling from a bunch of birds in the sky with the penguin symbol. Yes. And all of them are pretty much like, hey, pretty much tell another clue, and Robin's like, I figured it out. He's going to use the theater to create the diversion and then break in, steal the melee penguin bird thing, and get away with it scot-free. We've solved this case. And Batman's like, nah, that's not what it is at all. So they rush to the airport, go onto a plane, and reveal that the Penguin has hijacked the plane. And it turns out that, in fact, all the clues were leading to the fact that he was actually just planning on leaving Gotham. And the fact that he actually stole the statue 2 weeks before it even arrived in Gotham. And Robin, in the ending quote, is pretty much just Robin going, "Well, I may be doing good on my own, but I cannot outclass Batman." And that was this issue. Okay, so this opens up with Robin and Batman in the Batcave. Like, not the real one. Like, the one you saw earlier with Dr. Phosphorus. The fake one that was construction for Batman to feel at home at. And they're more or less... Robin's being like, dang, the Penguin really thought he had us beat. He was, like, really... I'm like a sore loser back there. But hey, can't really beat you. I guess college just made me a bit, like... just kind of weak, I guess. Maybe I'm losing my touch. I gotta get back on the streets. Then Batman and Robin have like a playful fight. And Batman praises him like a good dad. Then Robin all of a sudden gets a call from the Teen Titans, who are just like, "Hey Robin, we have a problem, we need your help." And Batman's like, "Go to him. Like, I can handle this." Batman is okay on his own. And so Robin leaves. Told you he wasn't really gonna be here that long. Then we cut back to the Penguin, who has just arrived back at his cell, right next to Floyd Lawton, aka Deadshot. So, a little history about Deadshot. He hasn't appeared since, like, the very early days of Batman. Like comics do these things where it's like, hey, check out this issue if you want context for this text. And it, like, was, like, issue 56 or something, so it's pretty far behind. So apparently he's just been here since that time. And Penguin's like, hey, Lon, I'm gonna get out of here, because I have a special monocle that will help me get out. It can, like, deflect light and cut through solid brick, aka my jail cell. And Floyd steals it because, you see, he only had one defeat against Batman. Never got to really prove that he was Batman's better, because this is early Floyd Lawton, so he doesn't have any of the characteristics of modern-day Deadshot. Like, no daughters, no anything. More or less, this Deadshot was pretty much, I think, the first real anti-Batman character. You know, like Killer Moth, Prometheus, Wrath, Catman, you know, all of those characters. Deadshot was at first the first real anti-Batman, because he was played like a billionaire who was just so happened to be really good at shooting guns. He decided, you know what, I'm bored of my life, I'm going to become a crime fighter. But I want to become like a crime boss as well. But I also really wanted to frame Batman, and he's pretty much doing the exact same plan Rupert Thorne had, except it's portrayed more as Batman's jealous of my swagger. And nearly had him pushed out of the city. But then Batman stopped him. And let's just say he didn't exactly take having his fame crushed, his wealth taken away from him, and pretty much just becoming a con really well. So he escapes with the molecule and decides to gear up. Oh yeah, and his old costume was like a fancy man with domino mask. Yeah, a really lame design. For, you know, Deadshot. So anyway, Bruce and Silver meet up for their date, and this is when Bruce realizes, oh shit, this is actually like a relationship. Crap, I did not foresee this happening. And he laments that she doesn't really know the real him because he can't reveal to her that he's Batman and all that jazz. Because he only loves Bruce Wayne and not Batman. So they arrive at Silver's art exhibit because she's an artist apparently. And then they run into Commissioner Gordon, who reveals that Deadshot has escaped, and Bruce, tries to cover up clues, like as Bruce Wayne. But this piques the interest of Silver as when they're out to lunch, it's revealed that then decided to ask, "Hey, I've heard rumors that you were really into crime back in the day, because back then, early days of Batman, Bruce Wayne was much more into crime, but then he slowly morphed more into a business guy." Like, I guess after the Silver Age. And, like, the Silver Age, crime wasn't really focused on as much as seriously. So that idea of him kind of waned. But this is, like, I think the first time it brought back, and Bruce's explanation is like, well, I've grown out of that phase of my life. I'm still interested, but I'm just kind of have more important things going on. And Bruce realizes, crap, this girl is smart. I might be in trouble here. And then it cuts to, wait. Oh, wait, I missed something. Crap. So, before the date with Silver, Batman met up with Rupert Thorne, who had... Oh, yeah, and in the last issue, Rupert Thorne was talking to the previously doctor guy who got scared by Dr. Phosphorus, and pretty much led to this whole banning of Batman thing with Rupert Thorne. He's called like a slime, but then Rupert gets a vision of Hugo Strange's ghost. And then immediately it's kind of brushed off. And then it shows back up again after Batman pretty much tells Thorne, hey, look, we can sell this peacefully. And Thorne still plays dumb that everyone wants him gone and not just him. Well, because he's trying to convince Batman, hey, look, the city wants you gone. I don't want you gone. I'm just listening to what the citizens want. And Batman's like, cut the bullshit. I know you're the actual guy that wants me gone. And you rigged the votes. I try to sell this peacefully, but now we're doing it my way. Then Rupert's like, phew, crap, I have to prepare for that. Then he gets a vision from Hugo, pretty much like, hey, dude, like, kill me. And I'm gonna get you too. All that jazz. And Rupert thinks he's actually going insane now. So, that's happy, fun times now. Anyway, back with Bruce. After the day with Silver, he goes up to the rooftops to patrol the area, which was Deadshot's last known hideout. He thinks about the history of Deadshot, and then he gets shot at. And it's revealed that Deadshot has a new look. Much better. And way more recognizable. And so Deadshot pretty much goes over, you ruined me. I had everything, but now I'm gonna kill you and make everything right. Just kind of goes on for that, and then they start having a fight, and it shows that he is actually Batman's equal in terms of combat, because he's not even phased with Batman scaring him. Man, Deadshot's really fallen from grace. Like, really fallen. This must be the Deadshot that they took inspiration for the Assault on Arkham movie. Because that Deadshot was a total badass. And so they fight across the area and end up at Silver's place. And while the guard of the gala wants to like call the police and get Batman arrested, Silver's like no, because she suspects that Bruce is Batman, so she doesn't want her boyfriend to, get arrested. Anyway, Batman beats Deadshot, and who just willingly accepts defeat. Kind of lame for this whole "I'm ready to get revenge after years of waiting" thing he had going on. But then Silver calls out to Batman while Batman's about to leave because the police are coming by, and he's now an outlaw. And Batman stops to look at her, and this pretty much confirms that it's Bruce under there, because I guess Bruce would be the only one to do it. As it makes sense. He did say that he would wake up at the crack of dawn for her. And that means a lot for coming from Bruce Wayne, who gets home at the crack of dawn. And that was that issue. So the issue starts off with Batman going to Silver's apartment the night after the Deadshot attack. Because Silver had called out Batman, and it became pretty clear to both of them that Silver most likely knew Batman's big secret of being her boyfriend, Bruce Wayne. So Batman enters her apartment and says, hey, so anything you want to tell me? And Silver's like, no, I don't know anything about Deadshot, sorry, nothing I can say to you. And Batman's like, you sure? You sure about that? She's like, yep, nothing at all. And Batman decides to back off. He's like, okay, look, I may have made a mistake here, so I'm just going to step out, and sorry for bothering you, and I hope we meet again, and bye. And also Silver brought up that she had a date with Bruce, and since Bruce is Batman and made no such date, pretty much Batman's like, well, I may have made an actual mistake here, and decides just to call her up and say, hey, I'm going to be busy tonight, let's just recall it. And she's like, yeah, I'm feeling a headache. When in reality, she doesn't want to see him because she kind of needs time to think of, holy crap, my boyfriend is Batman, and I don't know how to process this information. And so she decides, you know what, I just can't beat her today. I'm going to go off and, just have some time to myself to think. And that's what she does. She leaves the city. She goes to the outskirts, but still leaves the big building part of the city. And Bruce just starts to honestly think to himself, man, this is the first relationship where I seriously really want this girl to stay in my life. I really want her. I like her. She's nice. We have such a connection and all that. I brought her to 11 orgasms on our first night together. I really like her. I want her to stick around. So eventually he notices some civilians. They're like, Batman, look at our fish. And I was like, what's going on? It's like, but then he sees the Joker's mark on the fish. So this is the laughing fish storyline. And if you've only watched the animated series episode, it's kind of similar in the Joker plot, but not really in the Batman plot. It's that specific episode is a mix of these two stories of the Laughing Fish saga with Joker and Batman and his fish. But also it's a mix of a little bit of Batman's Joker's 5-way revenge, and really the fact that story had a shark battle in it. Besides that, it has really nothing to do with the episode itself. But anyway, back to the plot. So Batman's like, what happens? Okay, so Like, the fishermen are asking Batman, like, why would Joker do this? What's the point of this? And Batman's like the Joker is not your ordinary guy. His logic only makes sense to himself. So we see that this is not only a Gotham problem, it's like a Eastern Seaboard problem. And so it's like making the rounds the next day until eventually Joker shows up into the copyright office of Gotham City as he walks right in with his gang who pretty much tell everyone to shut up and just let this happen. And Joker's like, hey, buddy, like, you know who I am? You know my fish? Let's get down to business. I want to copyright my fish, and I'll get billions off of it. And the copyright just points out the big problem of you just can't really copyright fish. And Joker's like, are you denying me? Me? The Joker? Really? This is outrageous. You know what? You know what, buddy? You're gonna die. You're gonna regret not giving me my copyright of fish. And then he just leaves and then kills one of his thugs because the thug just decided to question him on what he was doing. And then he tells the rest of his gang, okay, boys, round it up. Let's get a move on. And then we cut to Rupert Thorne, who is still being affected by the whole Hugo Strange is appearing to him, and he's getting real spooked by that. And now he's just kind of jumpy, and he was about to go to a meeting, but he decided to wash up first because of just how rattled he looked from all the Hugo Strange ghost stuff. But then Joker just pops out of the bathroom like, hey, Rupert. So I know you were the guy, one of the guys at the auction with like me and Penguin were at, like I know you were there. And I know, most likely, you're the reason why Hugo Strange disappeared. And you look like you don't know who Batman is, and that's really lucky for you, because if you do, I would have to kill you, because I don't want anyone to know who Batman is, because I want to kill him. Like, you killing him? No, that shit, it's not gonna happen. So, so just let you know, like, me and Batman are going to honestly just fight forever, and you're not going to know anything. So how about you just give up this whole stopping Batman thing? Because nah, that shit ain't going to fly. Because I don't want to go after mere policemen. I want to go after Batman. Like, Batman, that's the goal. Anyone else, lesser to me. Do we have an understanding, Rupert? And Rupert's just kind of like listening to this, like, why the hell are you defending Batman? You're like Hugo Strange. You're just defending Batman. Why? And pretty much Rupert doesn't understand, like most mobsters, why the villains just, like, why people just want Batman around. I just can't understand it. And probably the best example of this is, like, I guess, Rupert's simple idea is just, kill the Batman. Or destroy him, I guess. I don't know. But this encounter with the Joker scares Rupert so much he decides, F it, I have to get out of here. And so he rushes to his car and just zooms out of the city. And so after this, we pretty much get cut to Batman arriving at GCPD. And reminder, he is technically an outlaw still, but Gordon's like, dude, we have bigger problems than you being at the GCPD right now. So we see Joker on the radio, pretty much, I mean on the TV saying, like, hey guys, I'm gonna kill the jerk who didn't give me my copyright of fish at 12 at that exact time. He will die. Bye-bye. And so this is pretty much the revival of the first Joker story, where he pretty much makes announcements. You see it, the best modern example is like The Dark Knight. That's like a good modern example of how Joker does this. And then it goes So then now, everyone, like Batman and GCPD are like, okay, we have to get into action because they have experienced Joker poisoning someone and making an announcement about it. So they prepare everything, prepare the guy, prepare like the building itself. And, well, meanwhile, like Batman inside is like, God, there's so much crap happening. Hugo Strange has disappeared, and like Silver won't return my calls. Like I just want Joker to be done and over with. But then the gas attacks happen, and Batman decides to cover up the guy's face with his own gas mask because he can survive the gas itself. But the guy pretty much dies. And as explained, the gas is only like a partial compound of the Joker venom. So earlier, the guy was sprayed with the other half. So when he slightly got like a whiff of the gas that was just poured into the room, he was infected and died. And Batman's like, crap. Then Joker makes an announcement, hey guys, he's dead, ain't he? Okay, so the next bureaucrat will die unless, you just give me what I want, which is like copyright fish. Come on. Give me what I want. And then we cut to Rupert Thorne pulling over for Silver St. Cloud, whose car pretty much broke down, and they drive off together. And that's the end of the issue. So the issue opens up with Batman and the police are at the bureaucrat that Joker announced would be dead house, and everyone's like tensed up. They're like wondering what's going to happen. Gordon's actually starting to consider retirement because he's like, dang, I'm getting too old for this shit. Like, Joker just keeps escaping, man. I don't know how long I can handle it. And I guess he quickly got over this because the Killing Joke came out like a decade later, I think. Anyway, so Batman closes the door, and then a cat walks in with a Joker fish, and of course the cat eats it, and he eats the Joker fish, and he turns Jokerfied and attacks Batman and infects him with the Joker venom, and this is the death of Batman. Or it would have been if, the cat hadn't been locked onto exclusively his master, the Joker being all planny and stuff. I guess made the Joker venom only want to attack the master, infecting the cat with it, and then all that jazz. Because the master dressed up as Batman, only wearing the cowl and stuff. And, well, they attacked the master, and and Batman was in disguise as the master. Ooh. And, they were lamenting the fact that they failed yet again. And then Joker appears on the TV. He's like, hey, buddies, you failed again, didn't you? Well, I'll keep doing it. I'll keep killing bureaucrats until I get what I want. So you best tell me what I want. And then we cut to Silver and Boss Thorne, and both are having very different internal monologues going on. But Silver lamenting about her relationship with Bruce and how she really wants to be with him, and that being a Batman is super important and all that jazz. And like how the Seeker has kind of rattled her, and she does truly love Batman, Bruce. But is she willing to go along with the whole Batman thing? And Boss Thorne is worried about his own sanity because he's like, as long as I have this girl with me, he won't show up. Yeah, that's how it works. He's really glad the girl's there, even though he doesn't really want to talk to her. He just wants the company. Make sure the ghosts stay at bay. And then over the radio, Joker goes on about how he still won against Batman. Boss turns that crap off. He's like, and decides just to rant to Silver about how Batman's just a bad thing for the city. Like, he should be getting rid of. Like, Gotham is better off without Batman. And Silver's like, dude, like, this guy has saved Gotham so many times. Like, you can't seriously be saying that Batman's a bad thing. Like, you're not exactly a saint, man. Like, seriously? Like, you ain't a saint, and Boss doesn't like hearing, and Thorne doesn't like hearing that, so he tosses her out. And then she just walks over to a nearby plane station and just decides to go back to Gotham on this plane. Like, what I mean is like a small plane. Like crop duster, I guess. Or just like one of those private jetliners that people just have to go on casual flights, I guess. So she does that, but Boss Thorne's like, okay, she was a bust. I didn't know she had a hard on for Batman, but the next situation will totally work out. Like, see, there's one right there. Oh wait, shit, that's Hugo Strange's ghost. Ah! And that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, by the way, I forgot to mention, like, as Batman was leaving to prepare like the next victim and stuff, he walked out and he thought he saw Hugo Strange's ghost. They picked up one of Hugo Strange's scanners for, like, remember he had like a gas back at the auction house, and so this is one of the scanners for that. So he just puts it in his pocket, and that'll come in handy later. So anyway, after Silver and Boss Thorne's stories kind of end, Batman wakes up Gordon, who are like resting and waiting for the next Joker victim, and then Batman scans all the policemen and spots the Joker, because the Joker had predicted that Batman would stuff up all the cat doors or doggy doors or whatever, and so he decides to show up himself, and then that's when the final battle begins. And the reason why Batman could see it was Joker is because of the Hugo Strange's scanner, because of the gas Joker breathed in along with Penguin and Rupert Thorne. Yes, just go with it. It's comic books. Like, campy aspects of superhero comics aren't bad. It's just how you present them that makes them bad. But anyway, what else was there? Okay, so during the final battle, Silver arrives and she sees Bruce fighting the Joker, and this comes back a bit later. But throughout the fight, she's like running across to try and catch up with where Bruce is, and Bruce is just fighting the Joker. You know, they're having the usual Batman Joker battles, the banter. You can't escape me now, Batman, and the Batman going, nah, I'd win. Then they run across the rooftops over to a construction site over, like, on one of those construction beams on a wire. Then Joker sprays it with acid, and Batman jumps off, and Joker falls into the water. And he doesn't reappear again. Batman's like, maybe he's gone for good this time. Nah, that's Joker we're talking about. He's probably coming back. And Silver walks up to Batman and is like, hey, look, I know your secret, I know you're Bruce, but listen, I love you, and I truly love you and stuff, but I just saw you nearly die, and I don't think I like that very much. I don't think I can live with that. And then they kiss, and Silver just asks Batman to no longer contact her. And that is the end of the Batman and Silver St. Cloud love story. I know, it's quite sad. And Commissioner Gordon shows up, is like, hey, Batman! Like, we just got Rupert Thorne, like, out on the outskirts of the city. Like, he was talking mad, and he started confessing all his crimes, like, and guess what? He even, like, confess the fact that he set you up to get kicked out of the city. We're back. You're no longer an outlaw again. Isn't that great, Batman? And Batman had left because, well, yeah, it's good news for Batman, but it's kind of shitty news for Bruce Wayne. That's how the issue ends. Just one more for Strange Apparitions. So the issue opens up right after, like, the night after Batman and Silver broke up forever. Heartbroken and all that. Batman encounters two robbers attempting to rob, I guess, a fish tank. like a big giant tank full of fish. And let's just say he's not exactly going easy on them. He's pretty pissed. He's venting his frustrations pretty openly. I think this is the most open Batman has ever been about his romantic frustrations to the standard criminals. And then he beats a guy senseless until like the police show up and is like, "Hey, Batman will take it from here." Batman's like, "Fine, take the scum. I'm out of here." And even the police are like, "Dang, I've never seen him that pissed." Well, I know for one thing, I don't want to be on his ugly side. Then we cut to a Star Laboratories building, where a mysteriously robed man in a power suit, no, this is not Mr. Freeze, appears to be carrying a device, but then a security guard tries to stop him by shooting at him, but this destroys the device, and let's just say the man's not exactly happy about that, but he's like, "Listen, I know you're doing your job, and I respect that. Just next time I come here for like the other twin of this device, pray I do not like kill you." And then all of a sudden he hears a pain. He's like, "Sorry, man, I gotta kill you." And then pretty much just touches him with his weird melty hand. And then we cut to Bruce's apartment where he's venting to Alfred how he feels like Batman has completely ruined his life because Silver has left him, and now he just let two standard criminals get to him, and then he just rants to his parents, picture, and he's like, "If only you two didn't die. If only you were alive, I could be living a normal life. God damn it!" And then he feels immediately regret that he, yelled at his parents. It's like, maybe it's time I quit being Batman. And Alfred's like, well, Master Bruce, might need to make the decision quick." But of course, Bruce can't really stop being Batman because of his trauma, so he goes out and meets up with Commissioner Gordon at that Star Laboratories place. And apparently this has been going on for a while now. Melted bodies and all that. But this time, there is a message written that said, "Forgive me." So let's talk about this new guy, Clayface 3. Now, who is that, you might ask? Well, meet Preston Payne. He was apparently had a birth defect that made him super ugly, but it also made him super smart. But since he was ugly, no one wanted to be his friend, so pretty much he grew up his entire life being friendless. He was highly talented, he was just ugly, and, people be superficial and all that. Eventually, the stress of not having anyone give a crap about him led to him going out to, every plastic surgeon he could find, and they just kept giving him the same news. There's pretty much nothing they can do for him, and they're very sorry for that. This wasn't exactly the news he wanted, and he was pretty depressed about that, but then he saw that Clayface 2, Matt Hagen, this guy isn't the actor, but he used the first Clayface to transform. It's a very complicated history. But he saw Clayface and he's like, "This guy can change form. Maybe he's my answer." So he goes to Matt Hagen. Matt Hagen just gives him some of his blood, and since Preston Payne is a scientist, he distills in Matt's blood the clay plasm or whatever to transform. He distills it and then he injects it into himself, and then he can turn out to be handsome Preston Payne who had a date. Everything was going great until, of course, his face started melting off, and then he sucked his date dry of life. And now he built himself a suit to protect, the world, because he can't touch anything without sucking it dry. But now he feels a big hunger for people, pretty much, and to melt people. And let's just say he hasn't exactly taken this new life well. I mean, he's literally talking to the love of his life, a lifeless mannequin called Helena. Yeah, if you're wondering why there's a bunch of mannequins surrounding Clayface stuff, that's the reason why. This is Helena. And let's just say he's gone a little bit crazy because he genuinely thinks that Helena is alive, even though he found her in a wax museum and she hasn't really responded to him. So then he returns back to the Star Laboratories as he's trying to get the other version of the device he tried to steal last time. But then, of course, Batman being Batman, he just stalks it and figured that he was going to come back for it anyway. And so the fight begins. Preston trying to convince Batman, like, dude, do not fight me. I'm not trying to hurt anyone. I just need this to cure me, and then I'll be on my way. Batman's like, dude, I am not in the mood for this. You'd be wise to surrender. Then Preston pretty much overpowers Batman. He's like, pray we do not meet again, Batman. Then the hunger strikes him. He's like, dang it. Sorry, Batman, but you're going to need to die by my hand. So he reaches out his hand, and that's the end of the issue. So the issue starts off with where we left off, Batman nearly being touched by Clayface, but Batman very quickly escapes and decides, okay, I can't fight him physically, and I don't want him touching me because I've seen what he does to his victims, but I can't escape. So he shocks Clayface 3 and then smoke bombs him, then attempts to gain higher ground, but Clayface just took the opportunity to leave, trash the Batmobile, and escape. But since he didn't exactly get time to feed, because he was hungry at the time for, a little Batman snack, he crashed his car in his delirious state and then decided to walk with the mechanism away from the wreckage and escape to his lab. But luckily, two drivers came running by, and then he decided, okay, I need that car, and then he stopped the car, ran its tracks, and sucked the guy dry, scaring away the guy's date. So he takes the car after, trying to comfort the woman because he really didn't want to kill anyone, but he was left no choice by his own logic. And so he just left knowing that no one could ever love him because he is ugly now on the inside as he was on the outside. In his own opinion, I guess. So Batman returns. Oh, well, actually, so this isn't really important to the story, but Selina Kyle returns, tries to see if Bruce is in the office. He's not, so Selina just leaves. And it is Selina because she has a cat with her. And it's a black-haired woman, so it's obviously Selina. Anyway, after that, Batman comes across the woman. She's crying, comforting, and pretty much says that Clayface sucked her boyfriend dry. And Batman tries to comfort her, but then he gets reminded of Silver because he's still kind of over her. And then he pushes her away and openly says, "I have to get over. I have to get over her." And I'm guessing the woman's just kind of like, "So is Batman okay?" Okay, anyway. So, Clayface is at a gas station refilling the car, and the gas station guy who was refilling his car is like, okay, that'll be this much money. Holy shit, your face! And then Clayface drives off. And then that guy calls the police, and apparently his testimony was so believable that the police just barricade a bridge that Clayface was coming across. And then Clayface just jumps out of the car with the mechanism and decides to go over the wire thing of the bridge as the police are distracted with being unable to get to him on that bridge. But then Batman shows up at the top of the bridge. And then Clayface decides just to jump off the bridge. Then he arrives back at his secret hideout as he's telling Helena, after this, "I can love you, Helena. I can love you as I become human again." Then Batman shows up and reveals that he unplugged the device because it works like a game console. Let's just say he doesn't really take this well and decides to crash out on Batman, and Batman like maneuvers enough to both like accidentally knock over Helena, which enrages Payne even more. And then pretty much destroy the machinery, and Preston's like, no! And then Batman reworks his Preston's power pack for exoskeleton, so the suit will pretty much just be dead weight to him, since Preston is technically still human, has human strength. Then Batman easily overpowers him and goes to bring him out to the police. But what Batman didn't realize is that he accidentally left the candle on the ground, which catches everything on fire, and everything in the Wax Museum is on fire. And since Preston is super not well in the head and thinks Helena is alive, he goes back in to rescue her, but then the building collapses, and Batman's just kind of like, man, I kind of feel bad, and like, I wish we knew more about him, because he just kind of seemed tragic. Then it's revealed to the firefighters that there was no body, so Batman just kind of puts it out of his mind, and that's pretty much the ending. So these last two issues of Clayface 3 are more like an epilogue to the whole story, because the real story was Boss Thorn and Silver St. Cloud, and this is pretty much the epilogue to the Silver St. Cloud stuff, showing how Batman is feeling after the entire whole breakup thing. News he's not exactly taking it well. Anyway, that was Strange Apparitions, and I hope you enjoyed. Bye.